Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Triggered. It's obviously been a difficult few days for so many of us. I'm on the road, but wanted to make sure that I was here to give you guys a few updates and cover some of the latest news and play you some of the best and most profound remarks that we've all seen on our friend Charlie Kirk's legacy. And guys, in times of tragedy, when confronting evil, your voice matters now more than ever. You know, like I said, I'm on the road, so I'd normally have some things in the bag if I just can't go live. I'm trying to do this from an iPad quickly, but I think it's important to stay active, make sure that people see what's really going on. Question some of the things that are out there and, not necessarily buy into everything else that's out there because, if you go down the rabbit hole, I mean, there's some stuff out there that's wild. And, I get why a lot of people buy a lot of that because we've certainly seen enough insanity over the last few years to question pretty much everything, but want to try to do it as best we can and be accurate. So across the country, we've seen some incredible patriotic Americans come together. And we're also building a movement that's going to be stronger than ever before. And again, that's what I said the other day. I mean, I think that's the best way to honor Charlie's legacy, is to keep going strong, get people involved. You see the activity on social, you see his accounts, you see the thousands of new Turning Point chapters. I mean, I really hope to unleash something that Charlie could have only dreamed of before, and I think he'd be honored to have that happen under these terribly tragic circumstances. So, as I wrote earlier, did anyone else notice that when one of our heroes was assassinated in cold blood, not a single store in America had to board up their windows? Cars weren't lit on fire. No one broke into, Gucci to steal shoes in the name of social justice. Doesn't that tell us everything that we need to know about where the violence in America is actually coming from? I'm so sick and tired of hearing about, both sides are doing that. Both sides aren't doing anything. One side is doing the violence. One side is doing it, okay? It's not both sides. I don't care what woke morons on CNN and MSNBC and stuff like that they say. Like, it's not both sides. Give me a break. It's one side. The left doesn't want a conversation. They don't want to do that. They've shown that. They want to shut down conversations. And they want to do it using violence. Okay? Again, that's been made clear, not only with what they did to Charlie, but the way they're celebrating his murder. I mean, he was some of the most reasonable of anyone. I mean, if not maybe the most reasonable person I know. That's what he tried to do each and every day. He tried to have conversations with people. He opened up his incredibly large platform to thousands of people who literally disagreed with probably everything that he said. And again, they had to kill him for it. So like many of you, I'm more motivated now than ever before to keep getting our message out, to not be in hiding, to not be silenced. So again, guys, like, share, subscribe. It's all of you who make this show, and more importantly, this messaging possible, along with so many other great people out there doing the same. And it's really also our great sponsors who are willing to support this program and stand with us amid the left's nonstop partisan attacks, guys, right? It's not just cancellation anymore. It's gone so far beyond that. So support others doing the same thing, people who aren't afraid to speak even the inconvenient truths to get it out there. The next generation is dependent on us doing this each and every day.
And that includes a new sponsor, Anyone.io. We all know how much we care about privacy and security and how important it is to stop spying in its tracks. We live in a world today where our entire digital footprint is in jeopardy of being sacrificed. And that's why I'm partnering with Anyone.io to bring you the hardware device that protects you online. The Anyone.io network uses decentralized technology to secure all of your online activity better than any commercial VPN. I can do this using their hardware device or from their mobile browser. There's no monthly fees, no subscriptions. Plug in and protect for all of your devices. This is the digital freedom we're all fighting for. Privacy and freedom for anyone. Visit anyone.io today and get started. Use my code Don Jr., DONJR, to get a limited time 40% off. Again, that's code Don Jr. for 40% off at checkout with Anyone.io. Remember to check out Byrna to protect yourself in a time of crisis. Byrna's lethal launchers are equipped with tear gas and kinetic ammunition. They're designed to incapacitate an attacker for up to 40 minutes. And Byrna is excited to introduce an all-new compact launcher. It's the same size as a smartphone, allowing you to conceal carry everywhere comfortably and with confidence. Over 80% of the components in the compact launcher are sourced in the United States, and their pistols are hand-assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Byrna is legal in all 50 states, requires no background checks, and can be shipped directly to your door. Try before you buy. Visit Byrna, BYRNA.com and find a Byrna dealer partner near you. That's BYRNA.com. Check it out, guys.
So to start, guys, I just want to make sure you guys see some of this. I want to play some of the remarks from my good friend, from Charlie's great friend, Vice President J.D. Vance, from earlier today, as he was actually hosting Charlie's radio and Rumble show. So Charlie was the one who really put J.D. on our radar. He was one of two guys really talking to me like in 2021 early to be like, hey man, you really got to meet this guy. You'll love him. Maybe even end of 2020. And we did, and we became great friends. And JD, Charlie, and I have spoken so many times and numerous threads and all these kinds of things. He really nailed it also. And is really one of the key reasons, Charlie's really one of the key reasons JD ended up being vice president. I know, Charlie, me, a couple other handful of guys really making sure, we didn't just have the billionaires putting in their puppet VPs and whatever it may have been. And there was a lot of people lobbying for a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of you guys wouldn't have liked. I think JD's absolutely been a rock star. He was in the Senate, really because of Charlie. And, I introduced him when he was like running number 4 or 5 in a, Republican GOP primary. So we saw the talent, we recognized it. Charlie saw that. We went all in to make sure we could get him in the Senate. He was a rock star there. Then the VP. So here's JD earlier today. I think it's an important thing to watch.
Hey, everybody. JD Vance here, live from my office in the White House complex and filling in for somebody who cannot be filled in for, but I'm going to try to do my best, my dear friend, the great Charlie Kirk. The last several days have been extremely hard for our country. They've been hard for me, hard for my family, hard for the countless people in this building who knew and loved Charlie Kirk, and of course, they've been hardest most of all for his darling wife, Erica, and their 2 beautiful children. The thing is, every single person in this building, we owe something to Charlie. He was a joyful warrior for our country. He loved America. He devoted himself tirelessly to making our country a better place. He was a critical part of getting Donald Trump elected as president, getting me elected as vice president. And so much of our success over the last 7 months is due to his efforts, his staffing, his support, and his friendship. I don't think that I'm alone in saying that Charlie was the smartest political operative I ever met. Everyone knew him as this fearless debater, this guy who would take the conservative message into hostile places and inspire younger generations to have courage. One thing that's hit a lot of those young Americans over the last week was how Charlie was there for them when others were not. When they were afraid to speak their minds, when they were afraid of what a professor would say, when they were afraid that they would be shouted down by their peers, Charlie was there, showing them that they could be courageous and that they could be bold. Charlie was a visionary. He was a luminary. He brought together people. He didn't just teach people how to speak. He didn't just teach people what to say. He didn't just teach people they could actually speak their mind on campus. He created a whole social network for an entire generation of young people. I know people who met their husband, who met their wife, who met the best man at their wedding at a TPUSA event. Because as you guys all know, it's not just about speaking our mind, it's about making friends along the way and creating that support network that won an election and that staffed the current federal government. I owe so much to Charlie. I've had friends reach out in just the last couple of days who sent me messages, screenshots that they exchanged with Charlie in the run-up to me getting selected by the president as his vice presidential running mate. And it's such an honor to have people show me that Charlie said, we want JD to be the VP nominee. And I just had a conversation with the president, and I think things are actually going well. I think he's actually going to choose JD Vance. Do you know what it means to me that such a good guy, such a good friend, such a lion and visionary of our movement was advocating for me? So I wanted to use this show today to advocate for Charlie, to talk about him, to talk about what kind of a guy he was, to talk about what kind of a man he was, what kind of a husband and father he was, and to take people, most of them from inside the administration, but some of them from without, who knew Charlie best, and to talk about what he meant to them, what he meant to this administration, and what he meant to the conservative movement. Now, I was very honored a couple of days ago on September the 11th, 2025, to fly out to Utah, where Charlie was shot and killed, to meet his wife, to meet his mom and his dad, his sister, all just incredible people who didn't deserve to have this happen to them. And I was also honored to be able to take Charlie's remains from Utah to Arizona. It was an amazing, amazing thing. It was heartbreaking, and it was sad, and it was terrible. But what an honor it was for me and my family to be welcomed in to the Kirk Inner Circle at their moment.
We're now in a monumental moment, guys, for our movement. We're in a new chapter, and it's a chapter where the left's violence is being exposed, and our resilience will be tested. Earlier, the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, also joined JD and said that Charlie and Turning Point delivered 110% in reelecting the president, my father. And that, guys, no one's going to fact check that as anything other than 110% true. Watch what Susie had to say, because she's been another, just a great rock star out there.
Maybe talk in those days of the campaign, what an important part Charlie was of our efforts and our ultimately successful efforts to install the boss in the Oval Office.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for doing this.
Of course.
I have a Charlie story that maybe hasn't been told, at least not enough. In the 2024 campaign, the law changed, election law changed, and campaigns were finally allowed to coordinate with outside organizations. One of the biggest expenses in a campaign is canvassing. The door-to-door activity that, particularly in a Donald Trump campaign, is critically important. And so we were liberated. We had license to coordinate with everybody, and everybody came to the table, and everybody was going to canvass at this level with this sort of fidelity to our plan, and included Charlie. And at the end of this whole odyssey, the person that really did everything they said they were going to do and more was Turning Point. He had an army of good people who were motivated and passionate, and they delivered 110%. And I don't know that Charlie gets enough credit for that. That was a tactical assist to the campaign. We didn't have to pay for it. We didn't have to think about it. We didn't have to follow up after him. It was an immeasurable help. And most of those canvassers were some of the same young people that voted for the president and convinced their families. Yeah. So in many ways, it was really a pivotal effort.
And this is really a call for action, guys. A call for doing what's right in the moments that matter most. As Stephen Miller put it, with God as our witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the DOJ, at Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks. Okay, these aren't just left-wing networks anymore. These are now terrorist networks as far as I'm concerned. Okay, take a look at Stephen Miller earlier today.
Walk me through at a high level, like what you and I have been working on, what the whole administration has been working on to try to make sure that we don't reward and promote this craziness.
Yes, so it's an excellent question. I said this before, and but it bears repeating. The last message that Charlie sent me was, I think it was just the day before we lost him, which is that we need to have an organized strategy to go after the left-wing organizations that are promoting violence in this country. And I will write those words onto my heart and I will carry them out. If people ask me, what emotions I'm feeling right now, this is something people say, you kind of know the answer. There's incredible sadness, but there's incredible anger. And the thing about anger is that unfocused anger or blind rage is not a productive emotion.
Right.
But focused anger, righteous anger, directed for a just cause is one of the most important agents of change in human history.
Charlie showed that. Amen.
And we are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. So let me explain a little bit what that means. So,
We've got 30 seconds, so be quick, Stephen.
The organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence, it is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
We're seeing so many patriotic Americans really stepping up across the country to carry on Charlie's legacy and find ways to get themselves involved. Here was the scene in New York City over the weekend during a remembrance ceremony for Charlie. This is New York City, okay? This is not exactly a bastion of conservative thoughts and principles, and yet people are starting to get it. It's a turning point in our country. And if we stay involved and we stay engaged, it's going to make a huge difference for the future and for the safety of our children. Now, all of this is going to require a lot of hard and difficult truths about the evil we are actually facing. For example, the FBI is now investigating left-wing groups in and around Salt Lake City, like the group Armed Queers, which suspiciously deleted their Instagram right after the assassination. I wonder why that could be. Now, according to new reporting, this group says its mission is to train gay, queer, and trans people to arm themselves and fight against capitalism, okay? Not defend their rights, their existence, to fight against capitalism. I wonder what the queer, gay, whatever movement, the LGBTQIA+++++, what's the deal? Why would they fight capitalism? What does that have to do with it? But that's not all, though. This group is a self-described armed revolutionary group openly aligned with Cuba. I wonder how well they do over there going against the regime in place over there. Its members traveled to Cuba as recently as this spring, and they express open support for communist regimes in Latin America. I wonder how well, this sort of sounds like one of those, gays for Palestine. I'm like, listen, maybe I get it, but I don't know. Doesn't seem like it would work out all that well for you there. This seems like one of those. But again, I guess the only thing that the radical fringe LBGT, it's mostly the TQ plus part, that has in common with either communism or radical Islam is they believe or want the destruction of Western civilization. I guess that's what they have in common. And once they achieve that goal, I imagine they go head to head, and it probably doesn't work out all that well for the LGBTQ++++. And in one now deleted video, one member claimed that, quote, "We definitely felt the pressure to bring the revolution back to America." These freaks are openly saying this out loud, guys. They're not even pretending anymore. This is what they're doing. They're telling us who they are. This is happening in Salt Lake City, Utah, of all places. You know, again, that's a pretty conservative part of the world. It doesn't matter. They're everywhere. They're entrenched. Now there's an ongoing investigation into whether this group or other aligned groups had any prior knowledge of the assassination plot. Okay, we've heard the stories about this guy perhaps living, you know, the left was celebrating. He's not trans, yay! Oh, he lives with someone who may be trans. I mean, allegedly. That's at least what I've been reading. It never ends. There's been at least 5 social media accounts identified that appear to have knowledge of the assassination plot, and authorities are now looking at who may have provided material support, considered, perhaps knew, or trained with the 22-year-old who's been charged in the murder. Guys, what is clear is that there's a massive hotbed of extremism right in the center of Salt Lake City. And it's an alliance of trans groups, communist groups, and groups that fundamentally, again, hate America and probably hate Western civilization and culture. Authorities also said over the weekend that the killer was living with a trans partner. And that person is now apparently providing more information on the communications and actions leading up to the assassination. And the facts show that this act of evil was clearly and very obviously fueled by a poisonous left-wing worldview. Here's FBI Director Kash Patel with the latest.
His family has collectively told investigators that he subscribed to left-wing ideology, and even more so in these last couple of years. And he had a text message exchange, he the suspect, with another individual, in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for. Those are factually accurate investigatory findings by the FBI that we've handed over to the local authorities and the federal authorities to make their prosecutorial decisions. But I believe in this instance of such public importance, the public has a right to know. And I've told you I'm committed to transparency, and that's what I'm doing here today.
Why didn't that person that he was talking to, why didn't that person say something?
And sadly, but predictably, a lot of this hate is coming from the media. You can't call someone you disagree with or simply can't win an argument with a Nazi, a fascist, a dictator, the greatest threat to democracy in the history of the civilized world, like, you know, all the nonsense, right? And then pretend that you had nothing to do with it. When a psycho takes up arms and kills someone, you cannot absolve yourself from years of fomenting hate, calling everyone that disagrees with you every name in the book. It was happening this week. It wasn't a bunch of radicals. You saw big tech people celebrating online openly the murder of a 31-year-old father of 2, a great husband, a great Christian, a great man with a following. They're just celebrating. They don't even pretend. Here's how Fox's Will Cain summed it up earlier, and I think it's a good take.
I'm sure there are normal, thoughtful people on the left, Bill. I'm sure that they are. But at this point, it appears that they are outnumbered, and they are not who is defining the modern movement of the left. You can't spend a decade calling your opponents Hitler, fascists, bigots, racists, misogynists, and homophobes, transphobes. You can't spend a decade telling everyone that your opponent is an existential threat to you and think that that won't have some repercussion. There must be some self-policing that starts now on the left.
But guys, the regime media doesn't want to admit what they have been fueling nonstop for basically a decade now. Okay, probably started under Obama, definitely got worse under my father's first term, right? But we have seen where this is all leading. Okay, we've seen it. Now we've witnessed it. The attempts on my father's life, multiple. Charlie, so many others. Watching young innocent women get stabbed by 14-time repeat offenders on a train minding their own business because, the woke talking points say we must let him go and maybe we give them another chance and another chance and another chance and another chance and another chance. The chances seem never ending. When do we say enough is enough? When do we actually do something about this problem? We clearly have a trans terrorism problem in this country, okay? Look at all the school shootings, right? These aren't people defending themselves. They're going out and killing Christian children, okay? You can't talk about them, God forbid. They're beyond reproach. If you're trans, oh my God, we can't release the manifesto. We wonder what it is. Said no one ever. But those are the talking points that they run with each and every time. I mean, think about it. Per capita, the amount of trans committed murders or attempted murders or terrorism that we've seen on a per capita basis, like how big is the trans community really? Like 0.1% of the population, like at best? And you think of all of those shootings, I mean, per capita, they seem far more radical than the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. I mean, think about how insane it is. We have a Marxist communist problem in this country as well. And sadly, it's now become a matter of life or death because they've shown they're willing to kill us. And they seem to want to do it as often as possible. Just last night, the FBI arrested 2 men outside of Salt Lake City after a bomb was found underneath the Fox 13 news vehicle in Salt Lake City. Fox News 13, by the way, that's not even Fox News. That's like the local TV channel, right? It's a Fox affiliate. It has nothing to do with Fox News. But, I mean, honestly, that's probably not even like right-leaning. It's probably like left-leaning, but probably not far enough left for them. The suspects, Adib Nasir and Adil Ahmed Nasir, are now facing multiple charges, including the threat of terrorism, possessing weapons of mass destruction, and possessing explosive devices. Guys, we are not dealing with one insane individual. We are not dealing with just a lone wolf. There's growing evidence of left-wing syndicates operating, not just in Utah, but all across the country. And it's why we need bold and deliberate investigations into the entire apparatus to figure out who is funding all of this. It's not happening on its own, right? Like the guy that tried to kill my father the first time, a radicalized 20-year-old with absolutely no social media presence, no online footprint. It's like, well, but how do you get radicalized? Now, by the way, probably got radicalized in our schools, right? You see some of the pictures of this killer, this murderous thug, looked like a perfectly normal high school kid, right? You see the videos of him talking with his parents. It's like, wow, what happened? He went to college is what happened. Okay, it seems like that's where it all started. It's why the work Charlie did was so historic. He took on this fight, and we can never surrender. Let's take a look at this video that the White House put out today in remembrance of Charlie. It's really important to watch. It matters. We have to not only remember him, but we have to follow through on the legacy that he was building, not for himself, but for our children. And it's really important.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom.
You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.
As the Turning Point team said, Charlie Kirk poured his life into building a movement rooted in faith, freedom, love of country, polite conversation and discord. He believed America's future depended on raising up a generation who would never surrender. That vision, that incredible vision, guys, is alive and it's stronger than ever before. But we can't let it be a fad. We can't let it fade out. We can't let it get washed away in the next news cycle, which I promise you the media is going to try to do. Prayers are rising. Support is pouring in. Millions of students are rallying. Volunteers are flooding in. And vigils are filling churches and schools across the nation. The fire Charlie lit is burning, bigger and brighter than ever before. Now, the responsibility is ours. We will honor his legacy by pressing forward. We will make Charlie proud. We will defend America's future, and we will not stop until freedom prevails. Guys, I want to close out by playing a bit more of JD's remarks from earlier, because they are just very powerful and very much worth listening to. So thank you all so much for your prayers, for your support, for all those who've reached out to me on various social platforms, for commenting in there. Like, it's so good to see people engaged. I'm watching even Charlie's social accounts. The follower accounts are going up by the millions because people just now want to learn. So if we can take this terrible tragedy and turn it into a promising future for so many and follow through on Charlie's work, it's so critical. It's all of us together who will determine the destiny of this movement. And it is the time to fight harder, grow faster, and unleash the true power of the grassroots machine that Charlie created. God bless, and take to heart these powerful words from our great friend, JD Vance. Watch it, learn it, please share it with everyone. Send it to your friends, send it to your kids, have your kids send it to their friends. Make sure to understand what's going on. Stay in the game, stay engaged. Check this out from Vice President JD Vance.
Shortly after Usha and I left Charlie's family and Charlie's remains in Arizona, I read a story in The Nation magazine about my dear friend Charlie Kirk. Now, The Nation isn't a fringe blog. It's a well-funded, well-respected magazine whose publishing history goes back to the American Civil War. George Soros's Open Society Foundation funds this magazine, as does the Ford Foundation and many other wealthy titans of the American progressive movement. The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously. But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words. He made an argument against affirmative action as a policy. He criticized a specific Supreme Court justice as an individual. He never said anything about black women as a group. He made an argument for judging people of all races and backgrounds by their own individual merits. The very evidence she provides, this hack of a writer, shows that she lied about a dead man, and yet she wrote it. An esteemed magazine published it. It made it through the editors and, of course, liberal billionaires rewarded that attack. Now, of course, even if Charlie had uttered those words, it wouldn't mean that he deserved his fate, but consider the level of propaganda at work. Charlie was gunned down in broad daylight, and well-funded institutions of the left lied about what he said so as to justify his murder. This is soulless and evil. But I was struck not just by the dishonesty of this smear, but by the glee over a young husband's and young father's death. Quote, she says, "He was an unrepentant racist, transphobe, homophobe, and misogynist." The Nation wrote, who often wrapped his bigotry in Bible verses because there was no other way to pretend that it was morally correct. He had children, as do many vile people. That's what they said. He had children, as do many vile people. Now, hours before this smear was published, my wife and I had the honor of escorting Charlie's body back to his home in Arizona. We took his wife, Erica, we love you, his parents, his sister, and a few of his best friends with us. And as they offloaded Charlie's casket from Air Force Two, I worried that Erica would collapse with grief. Now, I'm a very lucky husband to a very wonderful wife, but I have never been prouder of my wife than that moment as she held Erica in Erica's very darkest hour. And I thought of Erica as I read that disgusting attack on Charlie. He had children, as do many vile people. That's what they said about him. I said the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I asked Usha what Erica had said to her earlier in the day in a private moment, and I asked Erica's permission to share this. My wife told me, she asked me for advice. Erica asked me for advice on how she should tell her children that their father had been murdered. She asked my wife how to tell her beautiful kids that their father and my dear, very dear friend is no longer with us. And as she was doing it, there were people dancing on that father's grave. Now, I have heard many calls in the last few days for unity and for healing in the wake of Charlie's assassination. You have no idea how desperately I want that, how gratified I was when Democratic friends and even former Senate colleagues reached out to offer their condolences to me. I'm so thankful. And I know there are so many like them all across our great country. I am desperate to wrap my arms around them as we all unite to condemn political violence and the ideas that cause it. Psalm 133 tells us, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head." Oh, how badly have I craved that precious ointment in recent days, and I believe we can have it. But first, we must tell the truth. It's the only way to honor Charlie, for what was he, if not a man who told the truth in every place, in every environment? Now, the most important truth Charlie told is this, that long ago a man, begotten, not made, came down from heaven, and by the Holy Spirit was incarnate of the Virgin Mary and became man. For our sake, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate and suffered death and was buried and rose again on the third day. Charlie believed, as I do, that all the truth he told flowed from that fundamental principle. I really do believe that we can come together in this country. I believe we must. But unity, real unity, can be found only after climbing the mountain of truth. And there are difficult truths we must confront in our country. One truth is that 24% of self-described, quote, very liberals believe it is acceptable to be happy about the death of a political opponent, while only 3% of self-described very conservatives agree. 3% is too many, of course. Another truth is that 26% of young liberals believe political violence is sometimes justified. And only 7% of young conservatives say the same. Again, too high a number. In a country of 330 million people, you can, of course, find one person of a given political persuasion justifying this or that or almost anything. But the data is clear. People on the left are much likelier to defend and celebrate political violence. This is not a both sides problem. If both sides have a problem, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and that is the truth we must be told. That problem has terrible consequences. The leader of our party, Donald J. Trump, escaped an assassin's bullet by less than an inch. Our House Majority Leader, Stephen Scalise, came within seconds of death by an assassin himself. And now, the most influential conservative activist in generations, our friend Charlie, has been murdered. This violence, it doesn't come from nowhere. Now, any political movement, violent or not violent, is a collection of forces. It's like a pyramid that stacks on top, one support on top of the other. That pyramid's got a foundation of donors, of activists, of journalists, now of social media influencers, and of course of politicians. Not every member of that pyramid would commit a murder. In fact, over 99%, I'm sure, would not. But by celebrating that murder, apologizing for it, and emphasizing not Charlie's innocence, but the fact that he said things some didn't like, even to the point of lying about what he actually said, many of these people are creating an environment where things like this are inevitably going to happen. A couple of months ago, I headlined a fundraiser in Southern California, and since, we'd be out there anyways, my wife and I decided to take our kids to Disneyland one weekend. We had fun, and to be clear, most of the guests said very nice things, or they just left us alone. But there was a loud and very cool minority that would shout at my children, who were 8, 5, and 3, whenever they got the opportunity. "You should disown your dad, you little shit," one middle-aged woman yelled at my 5-year-old. "Tell the Secret Service to protect the Constitution, not your father," screamed another. Are these women violent? Probably not. Are they deranged? Certainly. And while our side of the aisle certainly has its crazies, it is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left. After Charlie died, one of his friends and one of our senior White House staffers had left-leaning operatives in his neighborhood passing out leaflets telling people what he looked like and where he lived, encouraging neighbors to harass him or, God forbid, to do worse. While he was mourning his dead friend, he and his wife had to worry about the political terrorists drawing a big target on the home he shares with his young children. Are these people violent? I hope not. But are they guilty of encouraging violence? You damn well better believe it. We can thank God that most Democrats don't share these attitudes, and I do, while acknowledging that something has gone very wrong with a lunatic fringe, a minority, but a growing and powerful minority on the far left. There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country. Now, our government, you heard me talk to Stephen Miller about this, will be working very hard to do exactly that in the months to come. We're not always going to get it right. We will sometimes move more slowly than you would like. We will sometimes move more slowly than I want us to. But I promise you that we will explore every option to bring real unity to our country and stop those who would kill their fellow Americans because they don't like what they say. But you have a role too. Civil society, Charlie understood this well, is not just something that flows from the government. It flows from each and every one of us. It flows from all of us. So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer. We don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. And there is no civility in the celebration of political assassination. Get involved. Get involved. Get involved. It's the best way to honor Charlie's legacy. Start a chapter of TPUSA or get involved in the one that already exists. If you're older, volunteer for your local party, write an op-ed in your local paper, run for office. I can't promise you this is going to be easy. I can't promise you that all of us will avoid Charlie's fate. I can't promise you that I will avoid Charlie's fate. But the best way to honor him is to shine the light of truth like a torch in the very darkest places. Go do it. We owe it to our friend to ensure that his killer is not just prosecuted but punished. And the worst punishment is not the death penalty, but the knowledge that Charlie's mission continues after he's gone. St. Paul tells us in the book of Ephesians to put on the full armor of God. Let all of us put on that armor and commit ourselves to that cause for which Charlie gave his life, to rebuild a united States of America, and to do it by telling the truth.